Hey guys, my tag is Christmas is cancelled, and before we get started, I want to say that the response to the first 5 scenarios video was insane. It became very apparent quickly that you guys really need something like this. I want to turn this into a series since great scenarios are always coming out without a real clear way for them to get out there. Also, I didn't expect that you guys would just play these scenarios as a routine, so I added the first video scenarios and this video scenarios as a playlist in the GitHub in the description. Smoothness scenarios always draw some criticism due to high scores being easier to get if you drop your sensitivity. Scenarios like Thin Gauntlet V2 and Centering 2 are examples of this. Low sens decreases the impact that your shakiness can have, so these scenarios that just test your ability to not shake off a really thin bot can be cheesed by just having low sens. Smoothbot Invincible Goated changes the game by testing smoothness in different areas. The bot itself isn't too difficult to hit, it's just how unpredictable its patterns are without being a reactivity scenario. The bot will change speed and height at random, and it will test you on wide angles. So if you use a low sense, it actually doesn't help since you would have to reset your mouse a lot, making you lose points. This scenario has one problem though, and that it has too wide of a range in terms of difficulty. Sometimes the bot slows down to a crawl, sometimes the bot goes crazy fast. The biggest problem is that the bot also flies over your head, making it impossible to hit sometimes too, meaning that you can lose a high score just because of bad RNG. To combat these issues, a bunch of Smoothbot variants were made by the community, and it seems like Smoothbot Sparky V2 is the favorite amongst the bunch. It's much more consistent throughout the run while still feeling like Smoothbot minus the overheads. Reactivity scenarios are something that isn't exactly set in stone as to what the best scenarios look like. There's always some new reactivity scenario coming out that people think is the best, and after a while people start to think it's useless. Air UFO 10 times hard is an example of this, and this scenario is one of the latest in that trend. However, I can see this scenario having a more permanent stay in the scene. The last bot in air is a UFO, a bot that blinks around a lot and you're just left chasing it. It was taken out in later versions of air, however dedicated UFO scenarios have started to emerge. Flicker Plaza is a scenario where every bot is a UFO, with the blinks getting more frequent the more you kill. This scene tests your reactivity and your ability to flick onto the bot quickly, but it also tests your ability to keep being smooth when the bot doesn't blink. By having to continually make large motion when it blinks, it can be tough to not over adjust when the bot simply changes directions. Being able to be controlled in both will be hard, but it's well worth the training. The vast majority of clicking scenarios that people usually play feature bots that die in one hit. Yet if you use a single fire gun in a real FPS game, having smooth tracking while being able to click is very important, but this isn't something that people practice in kovaaks. There's those close long shotgun scenarios, but surely a better option is available. And there is. Pasu 3-click V2 is a godlike scenario dubbed the single best scenario in kovaaks by the AIM scientist himself, INS. He was probably joking when he said that, but it's a really good scenario. It takes 3 hits to kill each bot, and you have to smooth track while needing a good amount of reactivity as well to get a top score in the scenario. If there's one scenario in this list that's a must play, I would give it to this one. To get better at static scenarios, the usual recommendation is to play extra small and wide wall. Yet for whatever reason, there's like 3 different versions of wide wall scenarios. Wide wall 6 targets without a space between the number and targets has 2 problems. One is accuracy scoring, which is bad because it discourages people from playing faster for the sake of their score. The other is that the scenario has this weird depth thing so that the targets are different sizes. The accuracy scoring is fixed in WW6T, yet the depth thing still remains. Wide wall 6 targets with a space between the number and targets fixes both the main issues and should be the version of wide wall that you play when you want to practice this. I actually have an old version of wide wall in my flick routine, so you'd want to update that to this version of wide wall when you play that. One of the recommendations to get better scenarios is to play the smaller versions of them. Almost any scenario you can find will have these more difficult versions, however something that we've noticed is that smaller doesn't always equal better. When you get too small, it can change how you approach the scenario too much to where it doesn't translate much anymore to the main scenario. So for voxTargetSwitch, instead of playing voxTargetSwitch small, play voxTargetSwitch 30% smaller. You still play the scenario the same way, but it's just small enough to where you get the best practice you can get to voxTargetSwitch while still feeling like the same scenario. And that's all I have for you in this video. Thank you for watching, leave a like and subscribe if you got this far. If you break high scores because of me, leave a follow on my Twitch stream as well. And if you want personal kovaaks coaching, I do offer that as well. Join my Discord to learn more.